It's been nearly a year now since the first Oklahoman died of COVID-19, an event that launched changes in our lives that we never imagined at the time. This week, we're going in depth to examine the impact that COVID has had on all of our lives. We begin by remembering Merle Dry. He passed away from COVID on March 18th of 2020. His family is now a permanent part of Oklahoma history, but his widow says they could never have imagined where this journey would take them. 2 Works for You, Sharon Phillips, sat down with Carrie Dry to find out how their family is doing now and how they've used his passing to help others.
Not only was Merle the first person to pass away from COVID here in Oklahoma, he was also the first member of the Cherokee Nation and the first United Pentecostal minister to pass from this disease.
The reality of that didn't sink in until the news media began contacting me in the days after his passing.
Being thrust into the spotlight after her husband's death was something that Carrie Dry wasn't prepared for.
And I began to realize this is a really big deal. It's not something I would have chosen. It's definitely not something Merle would have chosen.
It's taken nearly a year, and the healing will never be complete. But she says she wants to use Merle's passing as an opportunity to help others and make something good come out of it. Carrie says the symptoms of COVID-19 came on quick, and they were not ready for what the next few days would bring.
The evening of the 14th was a Saturday, and he had worked overtime that day out at ORU, and it was particularly windy. And he thought that he was dealing with allergies and sinus problems.
She says by Sunday evening, Merle was really struggling.
When he came out of the bathroom, he was staggering and could not breathe at all.
The hospital allowed her to stay with him that night, but when she got up Monday morning, his condition worsened.
I never saw him again after that. That was Monday. He died Wednesday night at about 8:51. And that has been one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with, was the fact that I wasn't with him. I couldn't be with him. I couldn't hold his hand.
The Dry's pastor, Don Martin, says Merle always played an active role in their church, and he couldn't believe just how quickly the symptoms came on.
He just said, "I'm going to whip this thing." He said, "I just can't breathe right now." And I told him, I said, "Well, good, you know." And so when she told me Tuesday he wasn't doing well, I just couldn't believe it. And then Wednesday when he passed, well, it just was a real shock to us. And
it's been nearly a year since Merle took his last breath here on Earth, and Carrie says she is finally at a place where she can turn her focus into helping others, like her friend who is also dealing with this horrible virus.
And before I could have been sympathetic, but now I know. I've walked in those shoes for a year now, and I can understand exactly what she's going through because I'm still living it. Till the thunder sounds no more, till the
one way Carrie works through her pain is through music.
Forever from the sky, hold me fast.
This was one of Merle's favorite songs, and she hopes it speaks to others and brings them peace during this time of turmoil.
And I have to say that without the Lord's presence, I would have buckled a long time ago.
I asked Carrie if there was anything she would have done differently, knowing what she knows now about the virus. She says she would have ignored Merle's insistence that he was fine. She says he argued with her for about an hour before he showered and then realized just how sick he really was. She now wonders if that hour would have made a difference. For 2 Works for You, I'm Sharon Phillips.